Millions of Americans rely on Social Security, but a new report is raising concerns about the program's future.
Yeah, the Social Security Trust Fund is now projected to run out of money by 2032, which could mean reduced benefits unless lawmakers take action. Joining us live to help break it all down is Jacquez. He's the Chief of Policy and Advocacy at Groundwork Collaborative. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so first start with the basics so everybody knows what we're talking about. Explain what the Social Security Trust Fund is and how many people would be impacted.
So the Social Security Trust Fund is what takes the taxes that are taken out of people's payrolls and transferred to a fund to pay out Social Security benefits when they reach retirement age. The Social Security Trustee report that just came out on Tuesday showed that we will hit a depletion level for the trust fund 1 quarter earlier than previously projected, starting in Q4 2032. And that means starting in Q4 2032, benefits will have to be cut to about 78% of what they are now, if Congress doesn't take action, which would impact 71 million people who rely on old age benefits.
Well, and you're hearing different stories from Republicans and Democrats. Republicans are saying the cuts are going to have to absolutely be necessary, where Democrats are saying this is a structural problem. How do you see where there could maybe be some meeting in the middle here, or what could we do to kind of starve this off?
Absolutely, and there is a structural problem, and I think what we've seen is that the tax cuts, the reason that the projection has moved up a quarter is because the recent One Big Beautiful Bill Act tax cuts that have further depleted the trust fund. This comes after the tax cuts in 2017, the Bush tax cuts in 2000. I think that really what we need is to shore up the revenue side. And right now, if you hit about $185,000 and over, you stop paying Social Security taxes on the rest of that income, and you have a maximum contribution. There are proposals out there that would fill most of the trust fund for 75 years going forward by simply lifting that cap and asking people who make a little bit more money to pay a little bit more into the Social Security Trust Fund. And that's what a lot of champions for Social Security have been advocating.
Interesting. I'm glad you brought up why this shortfall is coming sooner. I've also read that immigration plays a factor here, that President Trump's deportation policies, because so many immigrants pay taxes, could also be impacting this.
That's right. The deportation agenda that President Trump has put forward, as well as the deterrence effect of even people coming here legally to come and work and pay taxes here in the United States, is going to impact Social Security. As our birth rate has been falling, as many countries have across the world, immigrants who come in and work hard and pay their taxes are becoming a larger and larger share of that payroll tax and Social Security Trust Fund base. And so it will have definitely a negative effect on the trust fund if the immigration is curtailed as strongly as the Trump administration has so far.
We also have an aging population. We're talking about cuts potentially to Medicare in 2033. So, you know, I look at some of the income disparity here for people, you know, as we're looking at these corporations are making, you know, millions and billions of dollars, and you've got people now who rely on these programs like Medicare and Social Security. If you're sitting listening at home, like, what do you do?
Well, I think there's one thing to do, and it's to take on some of the inequality and the just massive discrepancy in wealth and income that we've seen grow over the last 10, 20, or 30 years. Corporate profits are at record high. The labor share of income, the amount of overall income that goes to workers, is at a record low. And so I think to rebalance some of this, particularly with things like automation and AI potentially coming for people's jobs, we need to be thinking about how we more aggressively balance the discrepancy between those who have the most and those who have a little. And I think fulfilling our promises to seniors, Social Security is a promise. We promise it'll be there at the end of the day. For young workers right now who are just hoping it'll be there when they are able to use it, I think we need to shore up the finances immediately, and we should start by lifting the cap.
Okay, from what I've seen, the Disability Insurance Trust Fund is in better shape. That's a separate thing. But talk about, some people I understand want to merge the two as part of the solution. Would that work?
That's right. There's a number of proposals out here to adjust the trust fund, to even pay out through general funds. But again, I think that across the board, what you see is that people want their Social Security benefits protected and they believe that the rich should pay a little bit more in taxes to make sure that these benefits and these earned benefits are there to stay. So I think that there's a number of solutions out there on the table. Of course, people ideologically will have their disagreements, but it seems pretty clear that the American people, they don't want cuts, they want their benefits maintained, and they want to tax the rich just a little bit more to get it.
All right. Alex, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We really appreciate you diving into this topic.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.